Welcome to the Entrepreneurial CEO Podcast, where we dive into the real stories behind building and scaling a business. Each episode, we sit down with CEOs, founders, and leaders to uncover hard-won lessons in leadership, systems, and team building. Listen in each week to learn directly from real business leaders who have been in your shoes, had success, made the mistakes, and all of the messiness that comes with building a business. If you're ready to learn from real-world leaders and gain insights you can apply today, you're in the right place. So let's get started. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Andy, thanks so much for being here, man.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Everybody, today's guest is Andy Culp. He's the co-founder and CEO of Heli, the leading adventure travel marketplace. Brings together 600 plus heli skiing, surfing, kite surfing, mountain biking operators under one roof, and has so many different amazing experiences. He and I were just chatting about that I'm interested in because it's one-on-one last year and I want to do another one. So he has amazing experiences that they offer. Andy launched Heli in 2015 after years working in finance and as a competitive skier. And he's built an amazing company that we're going to learn more about today, which is really unique. So Andy, thanks so much for being here, man.
Thanks, Andrew. It's a pleasure and honor.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to dig in with you.
Cool. Before we jump into all of my questions, maybe just tell the audience a little bit more about the business and about yourself.
Absolutely. So Heli, as you described, is a marketplace for booking the best outdoor experiences all over the world on 7 continents with over 600 operators and providers with a curated supply that we handpick. And then we support our guests with dedicated adventure experts who are specialists in this domain and can, walk you through the discovery and selection process and get you prepped up for an amazing life-changing trip. In addition to this initial business, we also own and operate our own portfolio of high-end tier 1 adventure operations. So far, we have 2, one in British Columbia called Great Canadian Heli Skiing, which is a small group, unlimited vertical heli skiing operation and lodge in the northern Selkirks, close to Kicking Horse. And then we own and operate Silverton Mountain, which is a backcountry ski area and heli skiing operation in southern Colorado. And we are currently in the process of acquiring our 3rd operation, also in the ski space in British Columbia. So it's been an amazing journey, and just excited about, where we've been and where we're going. On the personal side, 39 years old, live in Aspen, Colorado with my wife, who's an expectant mother, with our first son due in September. And I am a passionate skier, kiter, athlete, and member of the community here. And life is good. Life is busy, but good.
That's awesome, man. Well, congrats on the upcoming addition to the family.
Yeah, now the real adventure begins.
Yeah, dude. I've got 2. You're in for it, but it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah,
so tell me about, one of the questions is like where it's going. So the business has shifted a lot from that marketplace. Now you're purchasing, you're making acquisitions. Is that where you see the business going in the future? Will it always be that two pillars, or do you eventually seeing it being more of the owned? I don't know how you name it, but those experiences that you own.
Sure. So maybe I can get a bit technical and specific so that the audience knows exactly what type of business we are.
Yeah.
I figure that's the point of this whole thing. So we consider ourselves a hybrid style business. The original business, Heli, which is the marketplace found at www.heli.life, is a asset light distribution business for our partner operations. We earn a commission or take rate from the suppliers or sellers on our website. So it's all best pricing for customers that book with us. And that is considered to be more of a higher growth potential, more of a venture style tech business, which was our original vision for the company. And this continues to be, the backbone of the vision for what we're now referring to as a platform, which includes the owned and operated side of the business. So we will continue to emphasize growth on this side of the business. For that, higher growth shareholder and investor that we have. And we're super excited about it. Now, along the way, which I'm sure we'll get into, we've encountered a number of challenges and opportunities where it became clear that we were at the center of this ecosystem of these best-in-class operations, and we've had a great experience selling and learning about what makes each of these operations special. And we've gathered a tremendous amount of insights and data around, okay, what are the most popular destinations? What are the best types of products and experiences that the market appreciates and is trending towards? And we've taken our own view on how we would step in and operate some of these if we had the opportunity. And as passionate adventurers and consumers of the product ourselves, it was always a dream to own our own heli skiing operation, or other sport operation, hospitality asset, hotel, etc. And it became clear that we have created a strong brand in the business and cultivated an expertise that would translate towards the ownership and operation side. And we evaluated a number of opportunities and developed an investment framework that we practice and continue to refine today about how to identify opportunities for acquisition and ownership. And in 2022, Great Canadian Heli Skiing came up on the market, and with our relationships, we were able to win the deal and structure what's a more typical hospitality asset management component to the business, which we're calling our destinations business. So the way this business works is we as Heli are essentially the GP and sponsor of an acquisition. So we take a one-time acquisition fee for securing the asset. And then we take ongoing management fees, which is a percentage of revenue to align ourselves with growing and maintaining the financial performance of the business. And then we take longer term carried interest in the asset. So this has diversified the business, stabilized the business, made it more predictable with bulkier recurring revenue, as well as earned us the interest and attention from a more traditional real estate or hospitality investor, which may differ from that tech or higher growth, and some would say riskier investment of venture investing.
That's awesome, man. How did that come to be? I mean, that's a big pivot from the marketplace. How did that come into fruition?
Yeah, it's a combination of desperation and passion. On the desperation side, look, we launched our business in 2015 with the first version of the platform, of the Heli platform, and marketplace going live in 2017. And, we had an amazing launch, and we're on a great trajectory year over year, month over month. And then COVID, kicked us square in the teeth. And that was a very challenging time for our business and put us on our back foot. And, timing really wasn't in our favor. And, we took a number of measures to sustain the business, which included, taking myself and my co-founder off payroll and cutting salaries and just keeping the lights on and hoping that, the environment would shift and we could get back to a strong global travel environment. But, it just became very hard to keep it going. And so we were pretty much on our last legs when Brock, my co-founder, and I were like, we got to do something radical to survive and stay in the game. And so this destination side of the business was really born out of necessity. And then the opportunity presented itself with Great Canadian and changed the game and, radically revolutionized kind of the overall business model for the company, and became attractive to investors once again and, raised some more money and have grown the business. And now here we are.
That's pretty amazing. So am I hearing this right? So you're started the business, it's going well, COVID hit, COVID sucks, kicks you guys in the teeth, and things are, you're almost like closing up shop maybe, or, going out. And then you had this idea to completely pivot, which then required you to go raise funds to go make these acquisitions? I mean, so instead of like pulling back, you guys, huge risk.
Yeah. So let's dig in for the founders and operators out there that have been through similar journeys. So, we had raised some money in the beginning of the company, and we were crushing it. Going into 2020, we were every month numbers are looking better. Month over month growth is like new record month, and we got cash in the bank, and we're making money, and so we're stoked. And we're like, oh, we should go raise it around. We're like, no, we've got plenty of runway. Let's wait. And then March of 2020 rolls around, global travel restrictions, all kinds of fear and uncertainty. And, our bookings drop to zero. And we're like, fuck. So, and then coincidentally, the venture investing climate, no one's interested in investing in travel with everything that's going on in the world. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And so we just are basically hobbling along, taking myself off payroll. We've got a lean team of, probably 5 employees, excluding, my co-founder and me. And, we were still, things started to turn within that year. We managed to raise a small bridge round from our existing investors and some new investors just to keep the lights on with, optimism that things would eventually turn. But, as things started to turn, you go into meetings with VCs and they want to talk to you about your LTV to CAC metrics. And you're like, buddy, we've been in the middle of COVID for the last year. And so like, if you
turn on the news, man,
if your primary concern is my LTV to CAC metrics, like, let me just save us both the time and I'll get out of here, because if we can't contextually understand what's going on and why those metrics are fucked, like, it's just not worth the conversation. And so kind of that's what we were up against. Despite having this faith that we built this, Ferrari that we were, didn't have any gas to really test it. And then so the way it worked was we needed the destination side of the business to get those acquisition fees and to get those management fees, and to really introduce something new so that the investor in Heli would be, newly excited again about what we were building. And so the way it's worked is for Destination One, which is Great Canadian, we structured that as a separate but affiliated business that we capitalize on an individual, call it SPV type of basis, where we raised a bunch of LP dollars, contributed our own GP dollars, and structured it kind of as a standalone asset with, of course, relationship with Heli. And so that's what we did for asset number 2, Destination 2, Silverton Mountain, and what we've done for Destination 3 as well. So it's kind of kept it clean, and there are merits to kind of doing it separately so as to not dilute our Heli shareholders. But as we scale, there's consideration for, okay, is there a consolidation, full recap? And again, that'll depend on kind of who the capital partners are that we're working with to do that.
It's awesome, man. You mentioned we before. Like, what does the we look like now for Heli? I mean, I'm curious, because you have the 2 sides of the business. Do you have a lot of full-time employees? You have a lot of contractors? What does the structure look like today?
Sure. So Heli, which is Heli Adventures Inc., just to make it easier when we talk about different entities within the platform. We are a team of 13 full-time employees. So quite lean, and that's really core to our ethos. We do not aspire to be hundreds of employees at the Heli Adventures Inc. level. We view ourselves much more as mercenaries than infantry. And so we want exceptionally high performers on the team who are extremely productive and efficient to manage the higher growth demands of a bookings and distribution business on the marketplace side, as well as a subset of those individuals who spend a great deal of their time overseeing and managing the destination side of the business. And to give some context, Great Canadian Heli Skiing will have upwards of 50 employees, in peak season. And so, there are myself, my co-founder, Brock, who's the president of Heli, and our CFO, Monty Wah, who's got amazing experience in the ski industry as an operator, CFO, CEO, and COO. We manage those teams. So I'm de facto head CEO of Great Canadian and Silverton Mountain, but we rely on, much larger operating teams for our destinations.
Got it. Okay. That's super helpful. So the parent company or the large, I don't know, holdco or whatever, you've got 13, but then you are overseeing larger teams of 50 and perhaps others
so
just like
about
that.
100 between destination 1 and 2, and then, call it another 50. So, there's about 150 folks on the destination side that we're responsible for. And then, a leaner team of 13 at the top call right now. Cool.
And was that a big shift for you guys? I mean, you're a team of 13 mercenaries, and then you made these acquisitions. And now you're responsible for 150. Have you had to adapt anything with like your systems, your process, your day to day? How'd that all change?
100%. It's a huge shift from, growing a startup, a lean team, going from, we were probably, call it 6-7 employees before Great Canadian, and now doubling our team in 2 years, to now managing a profitable, established legacy business with an established team and culture, and adjusting that on both sides, right, to kind of what the vision is for the future of that destination. It's certainly allowed me as a leader to practice, all the leadership and management skills that I've cultivated over my career, both as, founder and CEO of this company, but, the things that I've done in the past. It certainly challenged me extensively, but I also can say that I was confident to step into the role, and that's from my expertise and from my passion, which I think is a big reason why the first 2 destinations have been a success, and why, we were positioned for a third asset and potentially more, is because our passion and expertise is undeniable. Yeah. When you walk into an operation like Great Canadian, this is a serious operation with true experts, best in class ski guides, mountain guides, and hospitality experts, that you can't just be anyone and walk in there. But fortunately, I've dedicated my life to this, and I've spent the last 10 years and more traveling around the world skiing, and spending time with these types of teams, understanding what the products should be, and it became clear once you prove that to the teams that you're doing this for the right reasons. They respect that, and they trust you, and they recognize, wow, these guys actually know where this should be going. And so that's been to the benefit of the destination strategy.
Yeah, it's funny. You hear a lot. We work with a lot of home service businesses, and you hear that there's all this activity in the home service market, people wanting to buy HVAC companies or plumbing companies or whatever. And, PE's really active there too. But I've heard stories about that going sideways, right? Exactly like you said, like you have somebody who is not from that market, doesn't know the culture, doesn't know the language, doesn't really care. They just want the profit. So they step in, and the people there are like, yeah, sorry, dude, we're not listening to you. But like, you came in and you're passionate, you're an expert, you understand, and you probably can get them to buy into the vision because you're able to communicate at a different level. That matters a lot. How did you do that when you stepped in? What was like to help them understand where you wanted to take it and why you were doing it?
Yeah, great question. So it all starts with trust, right? They can read the announcement and get the notification from the seller. Okay, we're selling the business to Heli, and okay, they can look at the site, they can look at the press, and look up who we are, and they're like, okay, this looks good. But still, at the end of the day, you gotta show up and prove it. And so we do not take that lightly. And we understand and we recognize as part of our investment thesis that in order for the business to be successful, as part of a new ownership and investment cycle, it all starts with the team. And so putting the team in the internal aspects of the business first, before you start worrying about growth levers and optimization and shifting budgets or whatever sort of, CapEx you're going to do, you have to first go in there and you have to win respect of the team and create that new team culture. And it all starts with trust, and that's showing up and first proving, why you're there. This isn't, we didn't buy this with daddy's money and, our trust funds. We don't have those things. We've gotten to where we are through blood, sweat, and tears. And that we love to ski. And that includes showing up and showing people that you can ski, and hold your own. And that counts for a lot in this world. And if you look at what's gone on in the broader, ski resort, industry, I'd say there's probably been less of a prioritization on that. And that's why you're seeing some press around things maybe going a little bit sideways at some of the bigger players. So yeah, showing up, proving that, your expertise, and your passion for the product, building relationships. And once that's in place, then you start to get buy-in, and you listen, right? The big thing that we do when we acquire an operation is we're not going in there and cleaning house and bringing in all new people. We can't do that. The best resource that we have when we acquire an operation is the people who have been there, who understand the terrain that we're skiing. They understand the dynamics of what makes that property special or how that operation works. And so we seek 100% retention when we acquire a business. And so once you maintain that, you start to ask them, well, you go into something like this, and a lot of people and a lot of customers, like, they love the product and they're like, don't change anything. And you're like, okay, we're not changing anything. We're just buying it as is. We want to keep it that way. And it's special and successful for a reason. And then as soon as everyone gets comfortable, they're like, I always wanted to make this one change, or I always wonder why we didn't do this. And so it's funny how there's that switch from like, oh, you told me initially that we shouldn't change anything. Now all I hear from everyone is all the things that you the ideas you have to make it better. And so that's where the best ideas come from within. And once you start to prove that, okay, we're going to listen, and take the lead from you guys, and just figure out the right way to do it, responsibly and sustainably, you get on this trajectory that we're on now. And then that starts to echo around the community of how we're doing things. And I think we've benefited from some really good perception of who we are and why we're doing this and how we're doing it. And then it snowballs. And kind of that's the point that we're at right now.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Is it, so you've got the mothership of, the 13, and then you have all the locations. What kind of systems do you have in place, or like, how do you ensure that things are progressing towards whatever goals you set for the year? Or if you have a 1-year goals, 3-year goals, whatever they are, what kind of systems do you have in place for that?
Great question. I would venture to say that we are dialed when it comes to operating processes, tech, and efficiency and productivity. One of the cornerstones of this is EOS, which is the Entrepreneur's Operating System. Maybe you or some of your audience is familiar with it, but it really provides excellent structure for how we're setting short and long-term strategy, how our weekly, quarterly, and annual goal setting and tracking ladders up to kind of that three-year plus vision. It structures how we manage all of our agendas for each call, the cadence for everything. It makes sure everyone comes in knowing exactly what to expect on any meeting, and it holds everyone accountable. So I really attribute EOS to our ability to scale. So we use it at the Heli level with that group of 13. And then we use it at each of the destinations. And so it allows, greater synergy, connectivity, and collaboration between each entity and team.
That's great, man. That's great. And you've pushed that down to the locations that you've acquired as well.
Hi, if you're a CEO out there who's struggling with focus for your company, aligning your team, accountability, if you're struggling with execution, connecting the dots from where you're at to where you want to be, we've got a great program for you here at MAP. My name is Michael Cato. I'm the CEO Most importantly, I was a client for 15 years, sold my company to a public company, and then bought MAP so that we can help other entrepreneurs with this specific problem. We're a 60-year-old company. We've worked with 170,000 individual executives and CEOs. We've worked with 15,000 organizations. This is what we do. Click the link below to learn a little bit more about how people just like you, CEOs, have transformed their business and ultimately transformed their life by running through the MAP system.
Actually, so we inherited the EOS system when we acquired GCH, Great Canadian Heli Skiing, and it was what the sellers had been using. And so when we stepped in and we did that transition year, we were fully trained on it and began using it. And we saw the power of it, and it really put a lot of structure into a lot of what we were doing at the heli level. But when it's a smaller team and leaner team, I'd say there's going to be less need, or it highlights less how much you really need a system like that at scale. And so once we saw the power of it with Great Canadian Heli Skiing for that larger team, we immediately brought it up to Heli. We initiated it day one at Silverton, and we're initiating it already with our third acquisition. Very
cool. That's really interesting. You got it through the acquisition. What kind of, I know with the EOS, there's a scorecard, right?
Yeah.
I don't, I've never been inside of a business quite like yours before. What would you say is like the main metrics? We call it MAP, we call them vital factors, because we say you should only be tracking the ones that are vital to the business, both leading or lagging. What are they for you? What are some of those metrics that are like good pulse of the health?
For sure. So, at the leadership team level, which you call it the highest level scorecard, you're going to have your typical financial metrics, right? So everything from revenue to, gross profit, EBITDA, net income, things like that. But then, the metrics that kind of ladder up to that are specific to our businesses. So for a heli skiing operation, you're going to be looking at, your skier day account, the breakdown of how that skier day maybe is allocated between classic and private product. You're going to be looking at, your ADR, so average daily rate. You're going to be looking at your helicopter costs. You're going to be looking at, number of employees, and things like that.
Okay.
And there's also some more marketing and sales metrics that we'll look at, like, what sort of page views we're talking about, how many followers you have on Instagram, how much you have in your pipeline, how many deposits you've got already on hand, what do your pre-bookings look like, what's your total occupancy rate look like, things like that.
That makes sense. Yeah, I could see, like, for them, some of the vital ones would be, bookings or pipeline, because that's going to forecast the future and show you where you're headed. Obviously, profit and the revenue, the EBITDA, those are at the top. But yeah, you'd be looking at some of those leading ones to say where you're going to be going in the future.
Yeah, you're looking at booking pace, year over year, things like that.
Nice. So where are you guys headed? You look 1 to 3 years out, you're looking at a third acquisition. If we had this conversation in 3 to 5 years, where do you want to take the business? And what do you think stands in the way?
It's a really good question. And I don't have, if I had a crystal ball, probably wouldn't be sitting here, right? But look, right now, the business is actually almost equal split between the marketplace business and the destination side. We're kind of feeling it out a little bit. We have high hopes that the marketplace will continue to grow. Last year we did, 100% growth year over year. We're hoping to do, 75 to 100% growth again this year, which is obviously a great trajectory to be on. We think that the marketplace business can be a $100 million to $1 billion bookings business a year, with $100 million being our next kind of big milestone. And then on the destination side, we're super selective. We do not aspire to be a Vail Resorts or Altara Mountain Company, though we have tremendous respect for those businesses. And we just consider ourselves to be in a different category of more boutique, select experiences that probably reflect a higher caliber of underlying sport or ski experience. So we'll be tremendously disciplined as we look at new acquisitions, right? It has to fit, certain characteristics that make it attractive to us. And those would be, first and foremost, it has to represent the best in class ski or sport experience in the world. And so with the 3 assets that we have already, those certainly fit the bill. Secondly, there has to be strong operational teams in place, right? We are not looking for necessarily a turnaround or, starting from scratch acquisition. And thirdly, there needs to be clear opportunities for growth, both top line and bottom line. That's kind of the 3 pillars that we need to see in an acquisition. With that said, there's quite a bit out there that, would fit these characteristics, and we'll be selective and aggressive when something comes up. And so we definitely have our eye on a number of assets that we'll continue to explore. But, down the line, let's say 10 years, where would I like to be? I'd like to be running a $1 billion enterprise value platform across both, and whether that's a combination of the valuation on the marketplace tech side, plus the enterprise value of our combined hospitality destinations portfolio. I think this is very achievable in 5 to 10 years.
That's awesome. When you talk about the difference between like Vail Resorts or Alterra or Aspen, like it seems to me that you'd be serving a different customer persona, right? Like somebody that might book at, I don't know, I remember seeing the videos of just like the crazy lines in Tahoe over this past year. You talked about all the issues these resorts are having, and the lift tickets are crazy expensive, and you're waiting in line all day. Like, you guys have experiences that are amazing, and you're going to these like really cool locations, and you're doing heli skiing or cat skiing. Like, that's a different experience. I would think you're talking to a different customer. I would think.
I would definitely say that it's a different product.
Oh yeah,
we tend to focus on an elevated guest experience, right?
Yeah. And maybe a different athlete, right? A different type of athlete.
For sure. However, that being said, I do think there's quite a bit of crossover, i.e., the family is never going to stop coming to Aspen. I mean, I live here for a reason. It's an incredible destination for that resort ski experience. People are never going to stop going to Vail. And again, I used to live in Vail. It's an amazing, amazing place. But however, there is, that percentage of the customer there that's going to continue to take the family trip, or own that second home in the resort town. But he or she also wants to take that annual heli ski trip or multiple heli ski trips every year to go ski, a higher level of terrain and snow conditions that, you only get in a more remote environment. Yeah. And yes, this tends to have no lift lines and, better, culinary experience and all-in experience. But, there's definitely a crossover in customer, though it is a very different segment of the product.
Yep. When you were talking about the framework, the pillars, the thesis, you mentioned having strong operations. And then earlier you were talking about how you aim for 100% retention, which is awesome. And, keeping people when you make these acquisitions. It's not always the case that people are A+, right? And you always want to shoot for, you mentioned having a team of 13 mercenaries, I think 13, maybe 12, that were 13, like A+ rock stars. What if they're not? Like, let's say you make an acquisition, you got 50 people, you need to develop, how do you go about developing these folks so that they are your A+ performers? Do you have like a system that you use or training, or how do you go about it?
It's a really, really good question again. So, leaning on the EOS system, I think a big part of that is defining core values for each brand, which we have for each Heli, Great Canadian, Silverton, and our third. And it starts with ensuring that adherence to making sure that everyone that's on the team fits the core values, right? And that's both on the qualitative and quantitative side. And then you're going to identify probably there are some folks that don't meet all the core values, and those might end up becoming, sort of the employees that are on the list of, in a perfect world, we'd probably replace that person with someone that does fit the core value. But it's not easy. There's not just a monster.com, database of like the perfect lodge manager or the perfect guide, or chef, that's willing to work in, many times challenging or remote environments. So you just have to identify your North Star and making sure that you can start to cultivate the relationships for recruiting the right people. And, for instance, with our first destination, we did have to, gradually make some changes. And we did that. But that was a big learning experience for me, is that you gotta, do it gradually. And sometimes it took 2 years. And, it took 2 years for us to really get that A+ leadership team at the Great Canadian level. And now we have it. The other thing that's really important to us is swim lanes. So making sure your org chart, the roles and responsibilities are extremely clear. And that's part of my job, is ensuring that, folks are really on track within their lane. And then that helps identify, okay, what lanes need to be filled, or what person is holding a lane that doesn't fit them or isn't the right person for the right seat. It's an art. It's not a science. You gotta, it takes time. You gotta feel it out. And, just always gotta be working to improve the composition of your squad.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we always say it's interesting because so many people love to, and I think it's important to promote from within, right? Somebody's a rock star for you. They want to feel like they're progressing. So naturally, sometimes they move into management, but they've never had any formal training in management. So they have no clue what to do. But a lot of companies don't have a way to train them, right? And that's sort of where MAP excels, is that training those managers to become better leaders and understanding how to be a manager. Because sometimes they just get thrown in, but that has such a dramatic impact on the performance of the company. So if you don't train them, it's like this downward spiral,
For sure. And, you got to want it.
Yeah.
And then you got to get it, right? And for us, I've seen that wanting it is really almost more important. If you want it, you can train that person to get it. As an example, we needed to replace, the executive chef at Great Canadian Heli Skiing. And so we found the new chef that, had never held the executive chef position, but she really wanted it. And she had the hunger and the motivation to step up. And so I'll take that 7 days a week, rather than trying to find, maybe someone that has better expertise or experience, but maybe doesn't want it, doesn't have that hunger and motivation.
100%, man. 100%. I think it's so important to be looking for that when you're interviewing people or looking to build your team, the people that have that hunger, that ambition, and also humility, right? That they don't come in thinking they know everything. Those attributes are so important.
For sure. And
hard to find.
When you hire someone, you're getting their skill set, but also their habits, good and bad, right? So if you get someone a little bit more fresh, you can train them to avoid developing those bad habits or things that don't work culturally. So that's certainly part of our ethos at Heli, and with how we think about our teams at the destinations.
Yeah. Okay, so with your company, and now you're going to have a family, you got a baby coming soon. I would think that like trips are part of the culture, right? Like taking time off. Do you have things dialed in where you can step out for a few weeks and not worried about it? Or are things still you're still in the mix? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's funny. I saw, a question or something that you wanted to talk about vacations. For whatever reason, I don't like that word vacation, and I don't see myself really ever taking them. When I think of vacation, I think about, some all-inclusive resort and people getting drunk by the pool and, really checked out and just like escaping their life. And I think more about spending time in different locations, but operating from them. So, I'm very rarely unplugged. I'm constantly, on top of what the team's doing. I don't micromanage, but I'm on the pulse of what all the teams are doing. And I think that's really important for where the business has been. However, I can confidently say that now I've got, a pretty solid leadership team extremely solid leadership team and junior and mid-level employees at the Heli level, so that yes, I have been able to take a step back and focus much more on big picture and as it relates to travel and spending time in different locations globally. I get a lot of that in the winter. I'm constantly visiting our operations in Canada and in southern Colorado in Silverton. And then, always, exploring and hosting trips in different parts of the world. The Egypt kite surfing trip that I had, you and I had spoken about, it's been a super popular one. And, just got back from Brazil and planning a trip to Greece with Laura, my wife. But, I'm very rarely unplugged. That being said, I definitely have the ability to start taking a step back.
That's good. That's important. I mean, I think when we talk to CEOs, that's like oftentimes one of the biggest things is they haven't yet set up the systems for delegation or accountability or just operations, that they don't have the ability to, if they wanted to step out of the business because everybody's coming to them for everything and there's just no documented protocols. And like, you need to have that stuff, man. Whether you want to, unplug or not, it's just, you have to have it.
Yeah. I think a couple of things like, now is kind of the exciting time because we have now started to reach that scale where I'm not needed to do the things that I had to do for the first 5-8 years of the business. And now we've gotten folks that are frankly better than I was at doing these things. But culturally, like, you still have to be the hardest working guy in the room. And if you're not, culture is going to deteriorate and you have to lead by example. So I believe I've earned that ability to now, enjoy a little bit more, create a little bit more space for myself and my family, which is also super important for staying mentally healthy, physically healthy, so that you can go the distance. And to your point, it's all about getting the teams so that they don't depend. You're not a fail point for any of the businesses.
Right.
And I think that's kind of where we are.
That's awesome. I don't know if it was Brazil. You mentioned the Brazil trip. On your social, there was a video of kite surfing over this like crystal blue clear water. It looked gorgeous. The video was that Brazil? It was so cool.
Yeah, recently we were down in Brazil. That was our full Heli team offsite. So 13 of us went down there for a week of team building, kiting, adventure, but also a lot of strategy and working.
That's awesome.
That's really important for our team. Every year we do that. It's one of the perks of being part of our business is, everyone's super passionate about what we do, and to be able to take folks to a place they've never been and to do some things that, most people would, crave, to be able to do this in our lifetime as part of your job is pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, we know where some of these best locations are, and it's like, that's true wealth to me, just to be able to be in an untouched, completely remote spot where there's no one else around and to have mint conditions. That's what Heli's all about.
That's so cool. Yeah, it looked gorgeous, man. All right, I got 2 more questions for you. So one, we always ask folks, is there something unique or interesting that you do that other folks listening might be able to take back and adopt into their business to help them, whether it's like a process, a habit, something with your culture or anything?
Sure. I think there's, personally as a founder and CEO has been through quite a bit of adversity. There's, some things that I do that I think have set me up to go the distance. And I think there's also something that's core to how we, what we build into our cultures within the team. So starting with myself, ruthless commitment to physical fitness has been huge for me, for my mental and physical strength. So I'm working out, lifting weights, trail running, hiking, biking, being as active as I can to keep my vessel as strong and healthy as possible. And also, I think that translates to a strong mind. I certainly adhere to, the philosophy of kind of Navy SEAL and, rigorous, physical discipline that translates to, performance professionally. On the team side, one of the things that's really important that we recognize is that if you have a job, that job really needs to be a platform for personal growth. Because we all have aspirations of where we want to go with our personal life. Your job is not everything. It's really got to be a source of income and hopefully a sense of fulfillment that translates into you being the best version of yourself. So something that we do with our teams, for those familiar with the EOS system, it's a lot of it. It's about rocks and rock setting, which is a 3-month, big goal outside of typical day-to-day that moves the business forward. So we have those at the business level, but we also set them for ourselves. And so we have mind, body, and spirit rocks for each individual on the team. So we hold each other accountable to the things that are important to the individual personally in their own personal lives. Like, what are you doing for your mind? What are you doing for your body? And what are you doing for your spirit in 2025 that are important to you? And that is important to create that connectivity between what you're doing professionally, how you're earning your living, but also how you're getting to where you want to be as an individual. And I'll share mine so people understand kind of some of where this goes. But for my mind, my mind rock is reading 5 baby and parenting books. And for my body, it's to complete an 84-hour fast, which I actually completed last week. First time I ever did it, which was a very interesting experience. And I'll certainly incorporate fasting more routinely into my life. And for spirit, it's to plan and book a indigenous ayahuasca ceremony.
Wow.
And so I share those with the team, and frequently you'll find, I have experience. Someone on the team did a fast, or one of the gals on my team said, my friend just recently went to Rhythmia, this ayahuasca retreat facility down in Costa Rica. You begin to see this cross-pollination of ideas and experience that helps each other to achieve their personal rock, which is quite cool. I thought another couple rocks that stood out from the team. One of the gals, she wants to run 13 half marathons this year.
Wow, that's awesome.
Which I thought was amazing. Some of the other ones was, learning how to speak Spanish and, committing to, 5 hours a week of Spanish tutor. Someone that wanted to find and start working on a new creative outlet, starting a podcast or, performing as a DJ. So, it's just kind of cool, to continue that alignment between personal and professional.
Yeah, I love that. And let's say they come back after 90 days and no progress. Are you trying to nudge them along? Hey, why didn't you do anything here?
It's definitely concerning, right? Because these are things that you told me are important to you in your life. It has nothing to do with my business. Yes, we get the benefit of having people that are executing within their personal lives. And I think will certainly translate to a stronger team culture. But if someone's, making no progress on their personal rocks, that's certainly going to be an issue to discuss. Why didn't it happen? You might not have 100% success rate. Maybe something happened that you can only do 2 out of 3. But
sure, if
you're 0 for 3, what's important to you in life? Where are you going? Why are you here? And I think I think that's a low likelihood of happening, but certainly something that we take seriously. If you're not going to do it for yourself, why would you execute on a rock for the business?
And also, I think that they'll be happier employees, more fulfilled if they're progressing in their personal life. That's going to impact their professional life too, totally. And I'm sure that's why you do it. But you 100%. Mentioned the ruthless dedication to personal fitness. As a dad, your kids are watching, so I know 100%. My kids, because I'm into weightlifting and being healthy and playing
bicep veins, bro.
And playing sports. But my kids and my wife is the same way. They're watching, dude. My kids are super fit. If I wasn't this way, I totally don't think they would have ended up the way they've ended up. So they're watching. So that's awesome that you do that.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. It's a big part of my life, 8 years sober and, healthy mind, healthy body, healthy spirit. It's all one.
Yeah. The second question was about the fasting. I want to know, so an 84-hour fast?
84-hour fast.
Tell me about that, dude, because I've never done that. That sounds awful.
So I had done previously a 36-hour fast, but there's all kinds of health benefits to fasting. Essentially autophagy, which is basically the process by which the body rids itself and recycles old cells that basically are not productive. There's a huge boost to immunity. hormones, HGH, things like that, that I think it's important to kind of cleanse the body, flush the body, recycle, things that have just been kind of dormant in there. And so my experience with that, and the decision to go 84, there's a gentleman on my team that had previously done 84-hour fast, and he loved it. So that really planted the seed. I did a bunch more research about the benefits in health and safety of doing something like this. And he would say that, 72 hours is kind of that gold standard, but then every hour after 72, you get an exponential benefit to extending it. And so that's where I decided to go for that 84 hours. But, I'd say the hardest part of the 84 hours for me was kind of between 24 and 36 hours. And then after that, it's pretty steady state. You do get a huge boost of energy, mental clarity. I found like all stress and anxiety was really subdued. And I was just like very productive and clear. And then benefit, physically, I think was prominent. And so whether I do an 84 very frequently is probably TBD, but, probably once a year, and then maybe a quarterly 36 to 48 would be good kind of, pattern to be in.
Wow. I don't know. I've heard of it before. I've never tried it. It sounds painful.
Well, maybe you're gonna, come back to me with some mind, body, spirit rocks.
I might have to.
We'll talk about it.
I might have to. Well, cool, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Really enjoyed talking to you. Before we wrap up, where can people go to check out the business or connect with you?
For sure. Folks can visit heli.life. Which is a Heli marketplace, and you can peruse and get inspired with all kinds of amazing experiences around the world. You'll have a chat where you can engage immediately with one of the experts on our team that will talk you through any questions or advice that you could be looking for. You can visit our destinations for great Canadian heli skiing. You can visit CanadianHeli-skiing.com, and for Silverton Mountain, you can go to silvertonmountain.com. But we'd love to hear from anyone, and certainly open to any sorts of feedback and questions that may come out of this brief chat. But it's been an honor, and I really appreciate you guys reaching out and for making time for me.
Yeah, thank you, man. We really appreciate your time. This has been great. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will see you next time.